Right now, in this room, there are colors everywhere that you cannot see. Not because they're hidden, not because they're far away, because your eyes were never built to detect them. Visible light, the entire rainbow from red to violet, every color you have ever seen in your life, is 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum. That's not a small slice. That's a rounding error. You are seeing almost nothing. But other animals are not as limited as we are. Some of them see a version of reality that would be unrecognizable to the human brain. And a study published this week may have just given us a way to borrow one of their abilities. Let's start with what your eyes actually do. You have 3 types of cone cells in your retina. One is sensitive to red wavelengths, one to green, and one to blue. Every color you've ever perceived, every sunset, every painting, every screen you've ever looked at, your brain built that image by blending signals from just those 3 sensors. That's it. 3 inputs. Your entire visual world. Now compare that to the mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp has 16 types of photoreceptor cells. 16! Where you have 3, they have 16. They can detect ultraviolet light, polarized light, and wavelengths so far outside our range that we don't even have names for the colors they see. But here's what makes them truly strange. Scientists at the University of Queensland discovered that despite having 16 receptors, mantis shrimps are actually bad at telling similar colors apart. In tests, when 2 colors were within 12 nanometers of each other, the shrimp performed no better than chance. What researchers now believe is that the mantis shrimp doesn't blend colors like we do, it sorts them. Each receptor works independently, instantly categorizing light into one of 16 bins. No blending, no comparing, just instant recognition. It's not seeing a richer world, it's seeing a faster one. For a predator that strikes in 4 milliseconds, that speed is everything. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Pit vipers. Rattlesnakes, copperheads, and cottonmouths all have a pair of small pits between their eyes and nostrils. Inside each pit is a membrane thinner than a piece of paper, packed with thermoreceptive nerve cells. These cells detect infrared radiation, heat. The sensitivity is astounding. A pit viper can detect temperature differences of 0.003 of a degree Celsius. When a warm-blooded mouse walks nearby in total darkness, the snake sees it. Not hears it, not smells it, sees it. The infrared signal travels through the trigeminal nerve directly to the optic tectum, which is the same part of the brain that processes visual information from the eyes. The snake's brain merges the heat map with its regular vision into one composite image. The pit viper doesn't see heat instead of light, it sees heat and light together, layered on top of each other as one unified picture. Now consider bees. Bees cannot see the color red, but they can see ultraviolet light, which is completely invisible to humans. And this changes everything about how flowers look to them. A flower that appears to be a plain yellow sunflower to us is covered in ultraviolet patterns that are invisible to the human eye. These patterns form landing strips, bullseyes, and arrows that all point directly to the nectar. Flowers evolved these UV guides specifically for insect pollinators. We've been looking at flowers our entire lives, and we've been missing half the picture. This is the thing about invisible colors. They're not theoretical. They're not rare. They're everywhere. We just cannot see them.
Which brings us to the discovery that changed everything this week. Researchers at Osaka Metropolitan University published a study on dragonfly vision. They identified a protein, an opsin, in dragonfly eyes that detects light at 720 nanometers. That's past the deepest red your eyes can see. It's into the near-infrared range. One of the most red-sensitive visual proteins ever discovered in any animal. But the truly remarkable part wasn't the protein itself. It was how it worked. The molecular mechanism the dragonfly uses to detect red light is identical to the mechanism in human eyes. Identical. Despite dragonflies and mammals being separated by hundreds of millions of years of evolution, they independently arrived at the exact same chemical solution. The researchers went further. They found a single amino acid position that controls how far into the red the protein can detect. When they engineered a version of the protein with that position modified, it could respond to light even deeper in the near-infrared spectrum. Cells equipped with this modified protein were activated by infrared light. This matters for medicine. In the field of optogenetics, doctors use light-sensitive proteins to activate specific cells inside the body. The problem has always been that blue and green light, which most of these proteins respond to, cannot penetrate deep into human tissue. But infrared light can. A protein borrowed from a dragonfly's eye could allow doctors to activate cells deep inside the body without surgery. An insect that has been flying over ponds for 300 million years may have just handed us a tool that changes how we treat disease. And then there are the humans who see more than the rest of us. About 12% of women carry a genetic mutation on their X chromosome that produces a fourth type of cone cell in their retina. It's most sensitive to wavelengths between the normal red and green cones, somewhere in the orange range. This condition is called tetrachromacy. A person with functional tetrachromacy doesn't see new colors that don't exist for the rest of us. They see finer distinctions between colors that we would call the same. Where you see one shade of green on a leaf, a tetrachromat might see 5. Where you match 2 paint samples and call them identical, a tetrachromat sees that they are clearly different. Most people with the fourth cone never develop the neural pathways to fully use it. The brain needs 4 color channels to process the extra information. And most human brains only have 3. But in rare cases, the wiring connects. And when it does, the world has 100 million colors instead of 1 million. So here's what we know. You see 0.0035% of all light, 3 cone cells, 1 million colors, and you've built every visual experience of your entire life from that sliver. Mantis shrimps sort light 16 ways, but don't bother blending. Pit vipers see heat merged with vision in a single image. Bees see patterns on flowers that have been invisible to every human who has ever lived. Dragonflies see into the near-infrared using a protein that evolution gave them and us through the exact same molecular trick. And some women carry a fourth cone that sees 100 times more shades than the rest of us. The colors are there. They were always there. We just never had the eyes. That's today's Science Simplified. Follow for tomorrow's SETI.